Hey, back in the shop, but unlike normally, I'm here in the evening on a weekday, and yeah, in the winter, it's really hard to do that. It's cold out here in the winter, and so I would normally come out on my days off from the store and fire up my propane heater, and then let that sit for a couple hours and get the whole shop up to a workable temperature, and then I can do my work. And the next day it usually takes a little less time to get it warmed up, because there's a certain amount of heat that stays. But it's not like I could just come out here midweek and work for an hour, because it just wasn't worthwhile. It wasn't worth spending the money on the propane, and it wasn't worth the effort of an hour of heat up before I could even do anything. But with spring coming, or here, I guess it's this winter is having a really hard time letting go. I actually came out here and did a little work on a personal project. Hold on one second, let me show you. So, do you recognize that? This is the Shuttlepod from the NX-01 Enterprise, from the series called Enterprise. It is a 72nd scale. I'd call it a model, but it's really a single piece sculpture. So it was a gift. It was a Christmas gift. I'm actually a really big fan of Enterprise as far as all of the various Star Trek shows go. It's one of my favorites. I know some of you will probably think that's really weird, but I know the show has its faults, but there's a lot to like about it. In any case, this is kind of a fun little project that I've been working on. And what I have to do right now, as you can see on the nose, there's still a little bit of a kind of a casting line, and today I'm gonna seal that up with some liquid green stuff. That's right, even on a regular resin model kit, I'm using the regular tools that I normally use. Although in this case, it did get a coat of, I think this is a Tester's aluminum non-buffing metallic finish, and it's been sitting for a few days, just sort of curing out. And then I was going to come in and fix that nose, and then there's some gray that needs to go on there, and then maybe do decals, and then do all the weathering. And there's really not a lot to this. It's the overall color. There's the gray nose, the black canopy. I haven't decided whether I'm doing engines on or engines off. I think I'm doing engines on. So blue glow back there, and then a lot of weathering and detailing. And I might drop some epoxy into those window ports, because those are way deeper than they need to be. Yeah, so anyway, going to do some stuff, get some liquid green stuff on there, and I'll come back. So yeah, I got the liquid green stuff on there, and let it dry, and then sanded it off with a fine, what do you call these again? They're like nail files, but anyway, you know what they are. Those things. And just smooth that out. I think I'm going to try and find a nice fine piece of sandpaper to finish that off. And then I'm going to mask the nose off and paint the gray. I think I have a light gold gray somewhere around that I can use. And hopefully that seam line there will be gone. But we'll see. We'll see. Also, while I was waiting for that to dry, I've been working on the Mountain King and just getting all the scenes cleaned up. This is not the cleanest casting ever. It's not horrible, but it has required some work, and mostly just, you know, where the bits go together. And as I've mentioned in other videos, that I'm still planning to see if I can make that fit a little bit better, this back piece, with some heat and pressure. But I think regardless, I'm going to have to end up doing a lot of filling on that as well. You can see, I think, I see right about here, you can kind of see how off that is still. Yeah. It's shifted by, I don't know, looks like about 1/8 of an inch. But I think we can fix it. At least most of it. It'll be okay. But back to this. So I just got back from another heat treatment on this, and as you can see, it is better. It's not perfect, but it's definitely doable. It's not that much work now to fill the remaining gaps. It's interesting though, on the other side is perfect. Like that, there's no seam filling to be done there at all. So yeah, I'm probably going to be working on him more today. But before I do that, I'm going to be packing up the bulk of that Scourge army that I've been working on, because I'm still waiting on the final piece, and I don't want Andrew to have to wait on using the rest of the army until that gets here. So that'll get shipped today, and then he should have it before the end of the week, and he can get to playing. And then I'll work on this, and I'm going to work on the Fireball, which is the dust piece, which is not over here. And I did do some more work on this. By the way, this is the next day, so kind of a bit of a jump there. I did some more work on this. It needs another coat of gray, obviously, because I had to sand that smooth again. The liquid green stuff left a definite impression there that I hadn't sanded all the way through. So that needs a little more work, but that's a personal project, so I'm not working on that right now, not for the next couple of days at least. I'm probably going to be going back and forth between this and the Fireball, because this is going to need a lot of putty work and a lot of assembly, and so there's going to be probably longer periods of it sitting without anybody touching it, and that means that I'm going to have something else to work on, and that's going to be the Fireball. I also have some Super Dungeon Explorer minis that I'm going to be painting. I have a smaller Trollkin model that is in the queue, but I don't have the model with me, so I'm going to need to get that. So just in case there's an open spot for it, because that comes before Super Dungeon Explorer. Yeah. So anyway, let me go get some work done, and I'm probably going to be talking to you a little bit later about an idea I have, and I'm going to be looking for some feedback. But that's in a little while. Talk to you in a bit. So the puttying is going well, as I think you can see there. I'm using Magic Sculpt, which I'm almost out of. I'm going to need to get myself a new supply. It's something that we sell at the store on occasion. We don't actually have a real supplier for it. What we've done in the past is buy it in bulk and then repackage it into smaller containers that are more convenient for hobbyists. You know, because a hobbyist doesn't necessarily need a 25-pound kit of Magic Sculpt. But the reason I'm using it is because it works more like clay than green stuff does. Let's see if I can So one of the things I like to do with it is smooth it out with a brush, a wet brush. Why are you not focusing? It seems like sometimes it likes to do it. There we go. So I can go in with a brush after I've got it sort of seated where I need it to be, and then smooth it out with a nice stiff, this is a old Vallejo nylon brush. It smooths out really nice. It also adheres really well. I find that green stuff and this resin don't necessarily like each other very much. You can make it work. You see the green on here is actually liquid green stuff, and I use that. I'll thin it down and go over areas to just make sure that I've gotten everything I wanted to get. But anyway, regular green stuff doesn't adhere very well, and I had some problems. I used a little bit under the arms here, and it just wasn't doing the job. But the Magic Sculpt, on the other hand, is doing really well. So yeah, so that's going to need to dry. And I was looking at the legs. Let's look at the legs. You can see, if it will focus, there's some things there that need to get filled. This must have the weirdest looking mold. It must just go run all, break in half in weird places. But you can see that line all needs to get worked. I'll be doing that with the Magic Sculpt as well. But yeah, I am super pleased with how that back piece turned out, considering how disappointed I was with it when it first showed up, and how I just felt like I'm just going to need to replace this because this doesn't work at all. And now I can hardly tell that there was a problem. So let that be a lesson to you. Never give up and never surrender, I guess. Galaxy Quest. Anyway. Let me work on these legs, filling the legs, while my putty is still soft. And then I think I'm going to have to start considering putting the chains and stuff onto the model. I'm really unsure what I want to do with that. Probably epoxy. The only epoxy I have right now is a 30-minute epoxy as opposed to a 5-minute epoxy, which means that this is going to be a little bit longer a task, but I'll see what I can do. Anyway, that's it for the moment. I'll be back. So as you can see, it's starting to come along. He's not wounded. That's just some Teflon tape holding that chain in place while the epoxy sets. I've also got epoxy holding the legs to the upper body. And again, it's the 30-minute epoxy, so it takes a little while to dry. And I wasn't sure whether or not I was actually going to put the chains on before painting, because it just seems like it'd be a hell of a lot easier to do it with them off. But then I realized that there's a reasonable chance of really screwing up the paint if I try to do it after. I got to admit, I'm still not 100% certain what I'm going to do. Plus, I'm thinking I need to pin all these too. I did not pin that one, but as the ring sits kind of flush with the rock, I wasn't too concerned about it. The epoxy is really just going to hold that in there, but I think I'm just going to start drilling some holes and making some pins in preparation for getting all those things on there. So, yeah, well, that's going to be some work. not too much else to say. I actually took a little break, wasn't feeling that great, and then I came back in and realized that the shop was desperately in need of a bit of a spring cleaning, and it hasn't gotten all of the cleaning that it needs quite yet. Well, I gotta say that I'm really looking forward to painting this. This is the most interesting piece I've ever assembled, with all the stuff hanging off of it and whatnot, and all the little dudes riding on board. It's awesome. It's super cool. Yeah, and the weird thing is, it feels like the resin is nearly as hard to drill into as the metal, and it's soft, but I think that's part of the problem, is that it gives to a certain extent, and then but doesn't really allow the drill to penetrate like you might expect it to, seeing as it's a soft plastic. But that's fine. It's all working out. Everything's getting pinned, so I'm not too worried about breakage. I think that's my biggest fear for this thing, is with all these pieces hanging off, that I wanted to get to its final destination in one piece. So that's why I'm making sure to pin everything, even though there's about 30 different things to pin. So, anyway, I'm going to be done for today. I'm going to go have some dinner, I think. It's dark out. Starting to really cool off. And I think tomorrow I'll talk to you a bit about this idea I had and the future of these videos. So, anyway, that's it for now, and I will talk to you all later.